This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 457.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash. 404 error. Page not found. Links aren't working. System is crashing. System is crashing. System is crashing.
Your old HTML website. Barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website. Better than it was before. Better. Stronger. Faster.
Why, hello everybody. This is Adam Soberly, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. There are no WordCamps next weekend, so that's pretty easy. Just stay home and watch some WordCamp.tv stuff. There you go. Okay, moving on. Segment 1, in the news. Only one thing to talk about this week on the news is that the State of the Word, Matt Mullenweg's annual address, will be delivered again in New York City. Live audience, December 15th. Same format as last year, where there will be a small group of invited guests. I have yet to get my invitation. Don't know if I will get one this year. It's okay, either way. So there's that. Anything else in the news? Nope, that is it. Just like I thought. All right, moving on. Segment 2, the meat potatoes of this week's episode. It's the holiday time. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out of this podcast, it is Cyber Monday. And that's awesome. So if you score some great deals, fantastic. If you are listening a bit later, sorry you missed out on the deals, but you still might be looking for that perfect gift to give the techie, nerd, geek person of your life. And by the way, I say those three words, tech, nerd, geek, with nothing but respect, admiration, and love, because I clearly am one. So, I mean, heck, I do a podcast about technology and WordPress and web development. So there you go. Okay. So, like I've done in the past years, I've kind of worked out some ideas and gifts that you might want to give to this holiday season. So some options. I've broken it down to a few categories for y'all, trying to keep the costs reasonable for the most part. I'll share a few in each category. And with that, the categories for this year are hardware, software, fitness, and travel. Those are the four I came up with this year. I mean, obviously, there are plenty of sites out there that will give you the best 68 products to give your techie friend or the person who travels, and there's hundreds of different sites, but here's mine. There's only like maybe a dozen things total in the four categories, but starting with hardware. Now, depending on how well you know the person, perhaps they might need a new computer. I know, you're thinking that is really, really expensive, and yes, it could be, but truth be told, it's not as bad as it used to be. Personally, as a Mac guy, you can pick up a solid MacBook Air M1 for under $1,000 these days, and for many web developers, it's just fine as far as power goes. It really is. I mean, I'm running an M1 Max Pro, different story, 14-inch, but nonetheless, you can get a computer for less than $1,000. And you can also contribute to the fund to get one with a gift card. Now, not to leave out the PC side of the world, there are plenty of options out there as well that will perform just fine in that same price point, if not a little bit less expensive. Because as we know it, Apple charges a bit of a luxury tax, that's what they call it. The non-Apple fanboys call it an Apple Mac tax. So there's that. Okay. Next thing in the hardware category is smart plugs. Now, who doesn't love automation? I do. I just like to be able to say, turn my lights off or on, or have things happen when I leave my house automatically. Okay, so smart plugs are another very affordable, between $15 to $25 per plug. Depends on what brand you go with. I'm a fan of Anker. There's also Wise. There's so many of them out there. So there's that. Along with a smart plug, you also might want to hook somebody up with a smart speaker to connect to the plug as well. Apple, Google, Amazon, they all make them. Different colors, different sizes, different quality of audio experience as well. We have about 4 or 5 in the house. And they're all relatively the same. They're like $30, $40 a pop. So yeah, they're pretty cool. We use them all the time. Okay. Now moving on to the software category. Now security is a big deal these days. We need to stop reusing passwords. It's simple. It's way too simple that it's not a matter of if, but when you'll get hacked, right? So these days, highly recommended that we don't use the same password for anything at all. Just use one password for one login, if that makes sense. So that said, a password management tool. Plenty to choose from. I'm a fan of 1Password. There's also LastPass, FastPass, and they're pretty much made for all platforms these days. So there's no issue about Mac or PC on that side of things, but you really could get someone a subscription there as well. Really affordable, totally doable. So, and there's family plans and business plans as well. So it's an idea there. Also in software is backing things up. Super important. Cloud storage. platform agnostic. Doesn't matter what you are running. You want to back up your data and your content. Backblaze, iCloud, or Google Drive. I personally use Backblaze, and I also use Dropbox, by the way. I do use Dropbox for a lot of things. I pay for it as well, so you could get some subscription to any one of those kind of things. So for that. And lastly, for those in the Macintosh camp of the world, for software, SetApp. It's a subscription service that offers a whole bunch of applications for one price per month, or you can prepay for the year. And a pro tip on this is if you have a child in college, check to see if their college website, computer store online offers a discount. Mine does, so I get a discount that way as well. So there you go. Now, moving on to the next category, this one would be fitness. Now, we techies, we need to get AFK, away from keyboard, more often than not. Okay, and a solid way to do that is to be reminded, which leads me to the watch. Now, the watch being a Fitbit, Apple Watch, Garmin. Again, plenty of brands to choose from. I run myself an Apple Watch. It reminds me to get up. It gamifies things. I get to track my movement and my fitness with a few friends and one of my sons as well. Actually, both my sons as well. So, it just kind of keeps me out there and moving and stuff. Of course, you could go just the Fitbit route. I mean, in prices here, as low as like $29, $39, up to $800 for the Apple Watch, the Ultra. So, so there's that. Garmin also is about $1,000. Garmin doesn't do reminders that I don't think they do. A lot of people who do ultras and long distance stuff, they'll use a Garmin. But pick your battle, pick your poison, I guess. And but fitness is a key thing. We have to stay fit. Okay, otherwise we're not healthy enough to keep our work going to provide for the family. All right, once you move around, accidents happen, sadly. Runners, cyclists, we all get hurt sometimes out on the road. So I'm going to recommend you check out Road ID. It's a tag that gets printed that you put on the band of your watch or your device, and it has contact information, any allergies, in case first responders can't talk to you on that. So it's kind of cool, Road ID. And lastly, on fitness, it gets dark really early right now here in the Western Hemisphere, on the East Coast as well. My wife hates that I go run in the dark in the morning. So some sort of reflective gear, vest, or those neon tubes that people wear around. They're like, it's kind of looks like a vest, but the neon stuff, that would be really good for safety as well. So there's that for fitness. Okay, moving on. Last category, travel, because you know what? Things are getting easier now as we travel and kind of go out there. So starting with noise-canceling headphones. Huge improvements these days. Bose are the gold standard, but they're like $300 to $400. That said, I'm personally a fan right now of the Wyze brand, W-Y-Z-E. They also make smart plugs and smart light bulbs and cameras. But I got a pair for my daughter for her birthday last month, under $100. So it's pretty cool. Noise-canceling headphones. Also, what do we like to do on travel? Read. I do, at least. I like to read, and I like to read physical books, but a lot of people don't want to travel with physical books because, well, they're heavy. So an ebook reader, iPad or Kindle are the two leading options here, of course. And of course, you could use the iPad to read Kindle books because there's an app for that, but that's what I do. But some people want that distraction-free aspect of the Kindle itself. So keep that in mind. And Kindles are really affordable. I think they start like at $60, and I think they come with ads, but what I mean by distraction-free is that's all it does, is that it just lets you read a book. So there's no other, whereas my iPad, I can go and do other things on it, which could be distracting. So lastly, in travel, cables and batteries. Now, power is always a need when you have misconnections or longer layovers. I'm a huge fan of Anker products for the batteries and their cables. They're solid. They have great warranties. So check that out as well. All right, so there you have it. If you have any ideas, by all means, let me know. I could always do a part 2 in the next couple of weeks, but we got a couple of weeks left before the holidays. So kind of crazy. I know. Gift giving is kind of stressful sometimes, almost as stressful as the holiday itself, so I've heard. So, all right, moving on. Segment 3, Tip Until the Week. This week, it's a tip. It's the recap write-up from the R3 conference. The R3 stands for Recurring Revenue Retreat. My friend Rene went. It was down in Florida, and she did a great write-up about it. So I'm going to link to that in the show notes, and check that out. If you want to go learn how to do attend a conference about recurring revenue next year to November down in Florida. So there'll be a link in the show notes for that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email at KitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon. By the way, you could also do that as a gift to me. Become a Patreon for my holiday gift. Sign up there. You could sponsor the show. There's a form on the website. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.